All right. Well, we will see if this actually works. I have changed the format of the show, and I'm actually here in my high-rise apartment, but I'm not actually in my high-rise apartment, so I can't really open my hands very much here because you can see that I'm not in my high-rise apartment. And we got a big episode today. I had some stuff pre-recorded for you guys, but then I thought I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to do what it is that I do. I'm not freestyling today, but there was something that grabbed a headline that grabbed attention to my heart. There's some things that I wanted to say directly to you guys today. So thank you so much for tuning in to the Erskin Music Show. I'm going to get to the main topic that is probably the reason why you guys are watching this in just a few moments. But just know we're holed up in a hotel somewhere on the eastern seaboard of the United States. Um, Eager to see some folks in North Carolina. We will see them. Have had some incredible time here in Johnson City. And so we're just going to keep rolling with it. This was one that kind of came as a result of some stories that came yesterday that I wanted to follow up on. And so hang with me today. You'll get a lot of background about who I am, what it is that I do, why it is that I do what I do, the Erskin brand, and why it is that we're approaching things the way that we are. All right, so we've got all sorts of opportunities for this show to crater today. We got dolphins that are in the studio. Big Head is somewhere on campus, but not on the show today. So we're just going to do all the Erskin music stuff today and roll as though we're a normal show, even though I have changed dramatically the format of today. So I'm going to get into a couple things, and then I'm going to share with you guys what is my take on this top story. And I don't know why it is, but I feel like there's things that I'm watching in the media and things that are reported in the media, and they're great, they're fine, whatever, liberal or conservative bias notwithstanding. But I always feel like I have a different take on things that happen in culture than the way that most people report things that happen in the culture. And I don't know if that's just because I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. I know it has a lot to do with that, but I would suffice it to say that there's some people who are not going to have this kind of personal information to add to the story when they talk about things of this nature. And so let me make sure. Ron Carino, good morning. All the folks that are out there, good morning to you guys. So excited when I see names pop up, people that I know. So excited when there's people who pop up from places that I don't know. So if you're watching on Twitch and or Twitter, that audience has been growing lately. And I'm so excited to welcome you guys to the Erskin Music Show and make you guys a part of what's going on there. You can drop a comment in the comment section and you may get featured on the show. And that's a beautiful thing. All right. I don't know if you guys knew this today, but you just need to know this. There's just a lot of things going on in this world, of which here's one of the national days that you maybe did not know about, but you are certainly welcome to comment on, because I used to hear this as an excuse why people couldn't come out and play football or why people couldn't go to the dance or different things that were told to me in my life. I don't have time for that. Yeah, I've got to go clean out the refrigerator. Erskine, I can't help you move today. I've got to go clean out the refrigerator. Cleaning out the refrigerator is the atypical excuse that people would use from time to time that was just like, we're going to be involved in this task today, and we're not going to be able to get around to some other things today. And so I just wanted to let you know that I'm not going to be there. And listen, I've done ministry for years. And so I think I've heard every excuse. I'm about 99.9% sure that if you can come up with an excuse and make an excuse, I've already heard that excuse. I did student ministry for well over a decade, and I've done and been around pastoral ministry since then. And so I've heard every conceivable excuse as to why people can't do something. But today, Dolphins, is the actual day that we celebrate National Clean Out Your Refrigerator Day, November 15th. I've got some friends who share this birthday, and I'm sure they would want to know, they need to know that today is National Clean Out Your Refrigerator Day, celebrated on their birthday. And that is one of those things that I'm going to honestly have to tell you that in my adult life, since I'm married, I have never personally cleaned out the refrigerator. If you are watching this show today and you personally, not your spouse, but you personally have engaged in National Clean Out Your Refrigerator Day. I just need to hear from some people who are out there who have cleaned out their refrigerator on this specific day. Now, I know we all clean out our refrigerators, and from time to time, after Thanksgiving, before Thanksgiving, we have some holidays that are coming up. Food gets jam-packed in there. We got to clean it out at some point. But is there anybody that actually observes this day on this day in the way that's talked about there? And I love the national calendar. If you guys have never seen that before, it's the national calendar that basically tells you can celebrate something every day. And if you're wanting to celebrate every day, sometimes it's therapeutic for us to be able to celebrate. And certainly in a season of Thanksgiving, let's celebrate and be thankful for what God has done and is doing and does. But if you've celebrated National Clean Out Your Refrigerator Day on this day, if you've ever done that, I would just like you to drop a comment. I know there's a little bit of a delay, and so drop a comment, a story, something in the comment section that says, yes, I'm going to raise my hand and actually admit to observing this day. Now, many of you who watch this show, especially those that are in time lapse, because when I say good morning here in the United States, that is obviously good afternoon, good evening in other parts of the world, and then all the way on the other side of the world, it is good night. And so you may not be celebrating this day. You may not even know. I would venture to say that the majority of my audience that is watching today and listening to this show has no idea that it is National Clean Out Your Refrigerator Day. And yet there it be right before us to observe on this day. I'm kind of matchy with the environment back there. I kind of like that. My high-rise apartment here. Got my head cut off today. That's great. There's no moving the camera today. If you're like, hey, move the camera and get in the middle of this thing, it's going to be a bit hard. We can get closer, but this is the best we can do. All right. So, there's a Chris Tomlin concert tonight. Now, Rock and Ron, this is the Empire Striking Back. I appreciate this. This is, I can't clean out the refrigerator tonight because Chris Tomlin concert. So, and you can't clean out the refrigerator right now because the Erskin music show is on. I totally get that. Let's give an excuse back to the thing that has given so many people an excuse not to do the things that they're supposed to be doing and need to be doing. And so there we have it. National Clean Out Your Refrigerator Day. Get that junk off the screen. All right. So we're rocking and rolling the Erskin music show. You guys are going to get treated to some wonderful and fantastic music. Anything that you need by way of Erskin music icons is down there at the bottom of the screen. You can check out all the socials and the Erskin music. And what makes Erskin music is that we actually have music that's being played. All right, I got a song that I want. Ooh, I'm looking at my Christmas log down here. And too early. It's too early, folks. Don't start asking for the Christmas music just yet. I know you guys are getting antsy, and it is what it is. But let's go ahead and go with the song With You. It is still my mother-in-law's favorite song. This was, I think, two albums ago. And I don't know if she's listened to any albums since then, so it's probably still her favorite song. So anyway, here we go. This is the song With You, the Erskin Music Show. This is what it sounds like.
Looking back and going over my life, wishing I could start all over again. I keep asking what it would have been like if I would have known you way back then. But I wouldn't change a single thing I went through, 'cause it led me to you. Now that I'm with you, I will sing to you, 'cause I know I've been redeemed. I will hope in you, give my life to you, and I find you're all I need. I went searching, looking for some answers, trying hard to fill this void within. I was desperate for the missing pieces, when only you can make me whole again. It took all you had to make a way, to rescue me now and every day. Now that I'm with you, I will sing to you, 'cause I know I've been redeemed. I will hope in you, give my life to you, and I find you're all I need. I find you're all I need. With you I can run, I can soar. You're more than what my heart has ever hoped for. Until my last breath, and with my every step, I will follow after you, Lord. Now that I'm with you, I will sing to you, 'cause I know I've been redeemed. I will hope in you, give my life to you, and I'll find you're all I need. Yes, I find you're all I need. Now I'm with you. Now I'm with you.
I always feel like I want to play this after I hear that song with you for some reason. I don't know if it's in the same key or what's going on there, but anyway, we're going to be talking about suffering in a fallen world. That is our top story for today. Let me put my head actually in the screen. What do you guys think about this angle? What do you think about this vantage point? Really close there. Really, probably too close. But here it is. We are following a story that emerged yesterday in Virginia, where there were 3 football athletes who were killed. One suspect that was taken into custody, involved with the shooting and just the aftermath of that, as it has been reported. I believe this is the Daily Wire. I don't know. I didn't put it up in the show notes today, but I've got it on my sheet here. But the story goes on to read, and I've got some comments that I want to make about this. We're talking about suffering in a fallen world. The fact that you hear stories about shootings that seem like they're random, violence that takes place, increased violence when you hear about stories like that, things that are taking place in a lot of different places, shopping malls, schools, places where we live, work, and play, and feel like there's a measure and a modicum of safety and routine that takes place there. And that we hear stories like this that draw us to the attention that all is not well in Gotham City. There's a flaw in the slaw somewhere. I began to recognize that as we understand what it means to be in a fallen world and the application of what it means to be in a fallen world, there are stories like this that kind of jolt us back to that reality. As much as we try to, sidestep that, and we live in the most prosperous age ever. We have a variety of things that modern conveniences and technology and safety and a modicum of financial security, safety blankets that are out there. And we sometimes will sidestep the obvious concern that is, we live in a fallen world, and what can we do about that? So for the next few minutes, I want to talk about that. Your comments are welcome here on the screen. I know that anytime that I deal with tragedy, there has to be a certain sense of, I'm going to report the facts as I understand them and as has been given to us. And I want to show some care and concern for the family and the friends. And then I want to, and this is why I think the Erskine Music Show is unique. I'm going to add some of my personal effects to this story that is something that nobody could ever have. Washington Post doesn't have this. Uh, New York Times doesn't have this. Um, Epic Time. None of the people who will be reporting on this story will have this vantage point that I will give from my own personal life related to this specific story. And so you'll definitely want to hang around for that. But here we go. This is the Daily Wire. After an extensive manhunt that stretched overnight, police on Monday announced that they had apprehended the University of Virginia suspect suspected of killing 3 football players and wounding 2 others in a mass shooting on the school's main campus on Sunday night. University President Jim Ryan issued a statement early Monday confirming that the suspect, Christopher Darnell Jones, was one of our students. Jones opened fire on a bus full of students returning to UVA from a field trip to see a play in Washington, D.C. area, the school officials said. Now, let me share this here. And it is with great sensitivity that I do share this next part. But relatives of Jones told NBC 12 on Monday that they had been hazed he had been hazed while at UVA. School officials confirmed the alleged hazing incident, according to CBS, but witnesses at the time reported would not corroborate that or cooperate. A source who knows Jones but asked not to be named told the Daily Beast that he had been bullied at UVA and it was bad, quote unquote. It was bad. And in 2018, an article in Jones Richmond Times Dispatch painted a picture of a young man who had a difficult childhood. He had a fractured family, school, fighting, and suspensions. Jones told the outlet that his father leaving when Jones was just 5 was one of the most traumatic things that had ever happened to him. The pieces added that Jones attended an alternative school where he had been able to avoid bullying and that he had moved in with his grandmother in Petersburg in 2016 after his relationship with his biological mother deteriorated. It was also said that in the 2 years before he started at the University of Virginia, mentors helped him to let go of his anger. In July, the story goes on to report, 2018, Jones received the Dr. Porcher L. Taylor Scholastic Award, which comes with a $1,000 scholarship. Tracy Baines, daughter attended Peters High School with Jones, and both knew him well. She said, "This is so out of character, so very out of character." Baines told the Daily Beast on Monday, and when I said that, I'm not saying that to demean or to erase the tragedy. Let me stop there. Let me camp there. These 3 young men who are on the screen have lost their lives, and I don't in any way, in talking about this, want to diminish from their families, diminish from their legacy, diminish from the type of character that these men had, and that I am sure in the next coming days, as a result of their participation in college, their outstanding career, their outstanding character, all of those things will be talked about as they should. And I want to make sure that these 3 men are highlighted on the screen so that we get an opportunity to see and just pause for just a moment to see these men um, and how they should be uplifted in this time of tragedy, along with the family, along with the university, and all the teammates and all those that were around these young men. So I want to highlight them on the screens. I'm talking about Jones because there's a point that I'm going to drive home. I think that'll help you. If you've never seen the Erskin Music Show before today and you watch this show today, I think I'll drive home this point, and it'll help you understand all the backlogs of Erskine Music Show and everything that we have going forward. So that's the reason why these men are on the screen. Jones is not on the screen, but I'm talking about him receiving this award, receiving this scholarship, coming from a difficult background, coming from a situation where he was estranged from his father, estranged from his mother, raised by his grandmother, shocked. And this article goes on to say that the people who knew him knew a different Chris, the one who perpetrated this tragedy. Through intermittent tears, Jones had been a conscientious teen who did well in school and worked to help out at home. They go on to say, I know Chris, who helped to take care of his grandmother, who helped to take care of his family. Baines continued, I know a Chris who got a scholarship at UVA, and it's just a tragedy for all those involved. All right, let me stop there because a lot has been said in this article. a lot has been said in reference to these three men. Let me go ahead and pray, because I can do that, and I will do that in the same model of James chapter 5. So join me in prayer for just a few moments. Father God, we thank you that the door of prayer is open and that we have opportunity to engage in what is a meaningful moment, in few moments here, as we beseech heaven on behalf of the families of these four men who are involved in this tragedy, and others who have been impacted and affected by it: the school, the university, the community, the communities that they are from, high school administrators, everybody asking themselves, what more could they have done? What should they have done? Did they do enough? And there's just a lot of people who are questioning response time, warning signals. And I pray, Father, that you would bring all that cauldron of circumstances and confusion to a central point. Yea, Lord, even a central figure, and that person would be Jesus Christ. For those that do campus ministry, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, RUF, campus crew, any type of ministries that are there, Chi Alpha, who are ministering in this situation, and who are, even the students there, having to had a situation where they were in lockdown for 12 hours while the manhunt took place there. They're going to begin to try to make sense and maybe ask some questions that perhaps will lead to some type of campus revival, community revival. Yea, Lord, even perhaps a nation and national revival. Ask, Lord, that you would give great care and sensitivity to the family. There's videos that are out there. I didn't want to show those of the response of some of the parents after hearing that their son was killed. And I know that that is a deep, deep, deep wound that will perhaps only in heaven be healed. And so, Lord, I pray, Lord, that you would marshal the church in this community, churches in this community, that they would rally and support, and that they would be the type of churches that demonstrate the glory of King Jesus and live in such a way that it is obvious that there is something that is motivating them more than money, more than prestige, more than power, more than fame, more than any of those things. And that motivation is to be faithful to serve Christ. Come thy kingdom and be done thy will. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. So I wanted to make sure that I did express that concern. And as the audience that is out there today watching this, if you guys would be so kind as to continue to pray for these family members. As Mayoshi says, this is so sad. And in any of these occasions that take place are extremely sad. Here's another thing that I wanted to highlight for this show today in particular. And the reason why I canceled the regularly scheduled pre-recorded show that I'd done for today and jump on here is because I have sat with people in the last 4 to 6 months that have told me, I know what it's like to be bullied. I know what it's like to be picked on. I know what it's like to feel alienated. I know what it's like to feel alone. And I know the anger and the frustration that is resident with those things. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of a backstory with me, and I'll tell you how this relates, and then I'll drive my point home a little bit later. But I was raised in a good home in Texas, where I was raised with my grandparents. My biological father was in Wisconsin and lived there he still lives there. So my entire life he has lived in Wisconsin. Separated from my mother. My mother lived in Austin, Texas, in single parent. She worked, finished going to school, proud of her for that, and was just trying to make her way in life in Austin, Texas. I was raised in Belton, Temple area, Central Texas, with my grandparents. There was a period of time in which I struggled in that environment, and so I thought it would be a good idea to actually go and live with my mom, who at that point was rather unstable in the way that just life and circumstances unfolded. I became a latchkey kid in the sense that my mother worked a job that required her to work until about 9 o'clock at night. Sometimes she'd get home at 10 o'clock. And so I would come home from school and I was just there. It ensued that during those years, I got into a lot of trouble, fights, suspension from school, a lot of different things. I really had no direction and not a very good support group at that time. And my mom, due to the the youth of her age and the fact that she was trying to figure some things out just was a really bad situation. Had no real father figure that was there to support me or to encourage me. So those were a lot of turbulent years and a lot of things that happened ultimately that led me to having a relationship with the Lord. Now, when I sit down and I talk with people who have had a sense of alienation because they were the kid that was different, I can relate to that. I can relate to feeling like everybody hates me, and so I hated them. And so I got in more trouble because I hated them and I hated the people that put me in the situation that I was in. And so just a really bad toxic cycle. And I have talked to people in the last 6 months that have told me that there are periods of their life that if they would have had a gun, they definitely had the anger, the isolation, uh, the sense that if people were picking on them, they were going to, if they would have had a gun, they would have taken their lives, taken other people's lives in retaliation the way that they were being treated. I've heard people actually sit down with me in conversation and say, I've been to this breaking point. And so, my point in bringing all of this up, talking about my background, and I'll drive the point home in just a few moments, Rock and Ron, I do. Um, yeah, thank you so much for that. But I know that there are other people who are out there. You know, this comes as a shock. The University of Virginia, uh, Chancellorsville, great town, great people that are there. How can this happen in what is a wonderful place in America? Well, might expect this story to be a story that comes out of Chicago or someplace where we're used to hearing about violent incidents like this. But I just want to remind us that we live in a fallen world, and incidents like this happen all of the time and are poised to happen and can happen at any place in a fallen world. Even the nicest of cities, even the cities that have the most manicured lawns and most prestigious buildings and institutions, these kind of things happen in a fallen world. And I know beyond the shadow of a doubt, I'm 99.99999% sure that there is someone today that is at the breaking point of alienation. Here's the reason why I interrupted my regularly scheduled events and show to say this today. For those of you who are out there who are interacting, whether it be on college campus, high school campus, interacting in your city, and you see that wayward teen, you see that person that's out there just sort of adrift and not really focused in life, maybe doesn't have a support group in life, we can all have some measure of response. And that response can be, man, these guys are annoying me. Get thee behind me. Let's do something with it. Let's lock them up. You know, all the different responses that I've heard out there. Or we could actually get involved. We could hold the rope. We could be a support group. And this is not some wild social justice foray that I'm on here. I'm simply saying we can care enough to interact with people who might be just, they might be on the verge of doing something that they're going to regret for the rest of their lives. And it's going to impact a lot of different lives just by simply telling them hello. Now, let me complete the story that brings us to Erskine Music and why it is that we do what we do. So I got involved with playing basketball through Gary and Linda Beam, and I'll say their name publicly because I think, whoo, they should be, hey, where's our fireworks? Um, Okay, enough of that. Started playing basketball, and they really just sort of adopted me into their family. It was a unique experience. I enjoyed playing basketball, and so it was one of those things that kind of kept my mind focused on. I wanted to be able to play in the game on Saturdays, in the town and country league, and so I would, do my schoolwork and make sure that I wasn't in trouble at school, wasn't in trouble at home, and so that began to be something that I really prioritized and really had a sense of joy. I would spend hours just playing by myself and just working some things out as a young man, just working some things out, and eventually moved to Temple, Texas, where, as a believer, the Lord really began developing some relationships in my life. I began listening to Christian contemporary music because of some of the influence of some of the Christians like Nathan Copeland, the Copeland family. Started letting me listen to Pray for Rain. I started recognizing that even though I enjoyed music and I'd done music before, there were Christian music people who were out there. And so I really began to have a love for Christian music, which I thought I'd never heard these groups like Newsboys before, but it was fantastic. Second chapter of Acts, Pray for Rain, different groups are out there. So Copeland's get a big shout out. The Richardsons, just so many families that came during that time period of life that was a critical time period in life. Sports, love for music. Translate that to East Tennessee State University, where I played on a 4-year college basketball scholarship. And so, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, those type of things. Actually, I was on campus at Milligan University yesterday speaking with the women's JV basketball team and women's varsity basketball team, and then translated over that a little bit later on in the evening to speak with the ETSU women's volleyball team. Any team that I can speak to, I love to share my story. I love to share what God has done. And it has just been an incredible thing. It's been an incredible journey, an incredible ride. I could have been, and maybe statistics would say I should have been, much like this young man who perpetrated these things, angry, bitter. I've been there. I have been there. Um, in all the fights that I used to get into, I recognize that there's sort of a cycle of escalation. We first are going to fight with words, then we're going to fight with fists, then we're going to fight with brass knuckles, then we're going to fight with knives, and then we're going to fight with guns. There's an escalating pattern that takes place there, and I was definitely on that road. And I remember contemplating, what instrument can I take to the fight and the next fight that I'm in that's going to do more harm and more damage to the person? I remember that. I could have been that kid, but there were people who stepped in. And I know that this is a Christian music show. I get that. This is the Erskin Music Show. I do Christian music. I'm not ashamed of that. But there were people who were not even Christians who stepped in and they said, you know what? You seem to be really good at physics. You seem to be really good at English. Started taking honors classes. I don't even know why I was in all honors classes, but I started taking honors classes, playing basketball, doing music. And that has propelled the fact that I do a lot of sports events, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, involvement there, as well as Erskine music. And so when you listen to these songs, they don't just come because I'm sitting around and just thinking, oh, well, what song can I put out there so that I can make $1 million? Because I don't, unless Big Head's not on the scene today, unless there's something I don't know, none of my songs have made $1 million. But we may get to heaven and figure out that it's made a million different imprints and changed a million different lives. That's why we do Erskine music, and that's what's going on in a world. And so there's some comments that are jumping in the comment section. I want to be kind. Uh, yes. Introduced to Petra, which means rock. Man, coming out with some White Heart. Now, I'm just gonna be honest with you, I didn't get White Heart. The Copelands didn't listen. They probably listened to White Heart, but that wasn't one of the ones that they gave me early on. But we are talking about suffering in the fallen world. So we have prayed and continue to pray for the folks that are out there. And then I wanted to share a little bit of my story because, hey, we are driving forward. We are not going to stop. We are going to continue going. We've got folks that are tuning in from Kansas, folks that are tuning in from East Tennessee. Every once in a while, we get some imprints from some folks who are watching overseas. And we are just not going to stop because it means too much. And I say when I say it means too much to the individuals, the glory of King Jesus, in my own life personally, to ever stop trying to influence the next person and the next person and the next person. You never know what may be in that person's mind in terms of what they're about to do to themselves or do to someone else. You never know that that person that you're interacting with might be somebody who's going to come back and be an influencer of millions of people for good and not for evil. And so we are just never, ever, ever, this is my effect for today, ever going to stop doing what it is that we're doing until he returns or calls me home. Here in the love of Christ, I stand. And so my final word for this conversation, and you can jump in the comment section if you so choose. We're going to get 2 songs today. That's what I'm talking about, baby. My final word for today is to look into this camera with this microphone and just say thank you to everyone that is in that screen there that has invested time, energy, money, support, anything that you have done that has helped Erskine Music get to the place where it's at. I could have been, and dare I say, according to statistics, should have been one of the folks that you read about in the paper and you shake your head and you go, You see what's wrong with our culture. You see what's wrong with our society. Could have been that kid. Could have been that young man. Uh, I once was young and I'm now older, and I've never seen the righteous of the Lord forsaken nor his seed begging bread. The Lord has taken care of me through every season of life, and we're going to go out there. We've got some new songs that are coming out, and I'll talk about those in some upcoming Erskine music shows. So, Rock and Ron, you'll want to be aware of this one. This one's going to be iconic, and I'm not just saying that because I'm on it, but I am on it, and I take full responsibility. I apologize for nothing related to this song. It's a pro-life song called The Giver of Life, and I'll share more specifically about this song and ways that we can all be involved in this song as advocates for life. And so that's coming up. This is the cutoff head section edition of the show. I'm going to play you some more Erskine music because I am eternally grateful. But a couple things that I need to do by way of icons here. Let's do this. According to the Copyright Act of 1976, Section 107, fair use, criticism, comment, news, reporting, teaching, scholarship. All right, get that off the screen. You guys know I want to do everything and do it the right way. Also, I wanted to make mention of the fact that if you are watching this show today, you're watching this because of the generous support of many people who have worked hard to get the show to where it's at. So Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn, you guys keep that energy, and we will keep broadcasting to as many places as we possibly can. All right, before we get out of here, that's right. Giver of Life is coming to radio in 2023, and we're going to send it all over the world. Let's do this. Life Matters. And so we're going to play that song as the outro for today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in the Erskin Music Show. The comment section will be on, so we can interact all the way until the end of the show. So thank you guys. God bless, and we'll see you soon.
But don't stop fighting.